Okay, we're here with Skipper's 1965 Outcourt Sunfish Wave. We're working on reinstalling this aluminum trim. We removed the trim, so when we're painting the bottom, we weren't painting up against the trim. We were going to work on some painting some stripes, so it's easier just to pull it off. Also leak check if we found a couple of areas in this seam right here. In this seam, we could have better access to those. So just some notes, and this will be random musings about the trim, and eventually we'll get to putting in a rivet here. The trim is only here to protect this this seam and just for a little bit of ornamentation. So that's why the trim's on the boat. It's not here to hold that seam together or anything like that. So some of the tools, they're not all in the shot right now, I don't think, but I'll show you two of them in a minute. Rubber mallet in sequence to get the trim back into position, to persuade it to go where it's supposed to go. A little drill with a 1/8 inch bit on it, because these rivets are 1/8 inch, to drill out any remnants of old rivets that we might find. And then if that old rivet gets stuck on the drill bit, we take our vice grip, put the drill in reverse, and just kind of slide it off that way. Keep in mind that a little bit of metal is going to be real hot, so don't touch it, don't lick it. Also get an awl to clean out any remnants we may need in the hole. And we found today that there was some kind of gunk on this inside channel that was keeping the trim from going all the way on, way back to when it was on factory, because this is the first time this trim's, actually that's not true, this is at least the second time this trim has been taken off before us, and I'll show you how we figured that out in a little bit too. So we've got the rivets, talk about sizes in a minute. Got the rivet gun, and then we have a little ceramic file to take down any leftover bits of rivet that may be on there. So we'll get started now. The rivets, you get different sizes. So we're using aluminum rivets. You don't want to use steel because that's dissimilar metal. One, you'll get corrosion. Two, it's going to be really hard for me to drill those steel rivets out later on when I try to do that. So today, what we're find's working on this boat is this 1/8 inch with diameter with a grip of 1/4 inch. Grip means how far down it goes. We've got 3 different grips here of 1/8, 1/4, and 1/2. Sometimes it's like Goldilocks. Sometimes the 1/8 is enough. Sometimes the too little, the half's too big, and the quarter's just right. So, you know, each boat's going to be a little different. Each piece of trim's a little different. Depending on whether a hole's been drilled all the way through or not, you can get away with this deeper one. If it hasn't and it's original, then maybe the smaller one. So the Goldilocks rivet today is this 1/4 inch. So put it in here, get it started. You know, if we need to, we could take the hammer and tap it back on if needed, and then we just start to slowly pull it, and that starts expanding the barrel on the inside, and eventually that little shank gets popped off, and what comes out there is this remnant. And it's not always a clean cut, so you take your finger lightly, rub it if you feel something that might snag the skipper's shorts or someone's hand. Take some type of abrasive material to get that off. Also of note, sometimes when people put these back on, they drill all the way through. Not supposed to do that, but it happens because there is no hole on the bottom. But if you go all the way through, there may be a little burr that comes out. So you want to get under there and make that too, so if someone grabs your boat to help you lift it, they're not coming out with a sliced finger. So that's the rivet. We got one more to go, and now we'll just go into random musings, not in any particular order. Sometimes on a boat, you'll get down to an end or somewhere along, you'll find all of a sudden there's 2 rivets next to each other. Usually what's happened is this little piece of deck edge has pulled out, and so just come in and put a little rivet on either side of it to get clean deck edge to attach it, and then you put another rivet back in the old hole to just to make it look nice. So we used our little persuader, little rubber mallet, little drill with the drill bit to clean out any remnants of the old rivets that may be in there, or if you did some fiberglass repair, maybe there's epoxy there or something, you got to get rid of that. That's to get the rivet remnants off of the drill bit as needed. Little awl to get the hole lined up if you need it. Clean the hole out a little bit. All right, and in no particular sequence, we're on to the rivets next. We've used Arrow. You can get them at Lowe's, and what you're looking for is, like I said, you want a diameter of 1/8 inch, and the grip, the 1/4 inch, pretty much works in everything. The 1/8 inch might be a little short, or evidently a 2 quart or 2 quarto, and then in just about most cases, we found the 1/2 inch are too long, unless you've had the hole drilled all the way through, and then you can pull it. It'll be okay. You can also buy rivets from Laser Performance or from dealers. These are aluminum Pop Rivets. They are somewhere, I have to do math in the second, 2 quarter, somewhere in the 3/8 inch range on the grip on these. But we've been finding that these are too long on some of our boats. Here's the rivet gun, and while we're looking at the gun, you notice it's got different heads for different size rivets. So we jump off of the trim for a minute, talk about the coaming. The coaming has these big pop rivets, and there's actually one of them in there is wrong. You can see these two different rivets here. One has a closed end, the other one does not, so somehow this one snuck in there. For the coaming, you want this closed in because you put in this rivet, you take the top off, and then if you have an open end rivet, water can just drip right through that rivet into the boat. So I don't know how these got mixed up, but we'll sort that out later. But it's good to show you the problems you could run into if you get the wrong rivet. So you do want aluminum. I can't stress that enough because it's the same metal as the trim is. Here's a place that has a lot of rivets. If you want to get a pencil, write down the info, then they can hook you up. You can even call them and see what they can get you set up with. The last little thing we have is this. It's a ceramic diamond file that's used for tile. I haven't found it in the store lately. This recent one I bought online, so you might check on that. But here's a close to this rivet. I had to file the top down a little bit. Maybe there's some folks out there that can give me a little better tool to so it doesn't get scratched up, but you'd rather have a little scratched up than scratching a person up. Here's a rivet that snapped off perfectly clean the first time. I didn't have to do anything to it. That's why it's so shiny. Going down here, that one came clean. This one, where'd it go? Oops. This one did not, so I had to file it. There's a little bit of a remnant of a rivet that we had to drill out. And then you'll see here on this this closest rivet, you can see the dark corrosion. That's where someone had a steel rivet in there, so that's what turned that metal dark. And you'll know when you get to one because they're hard to get out. And I'll spool up to the coaming. This boat's the early boats had machine screws that went into rivet nuts on the deck, and that's what this boat has. And then sometime in the 70s, I believe, they switched to the big rivet that I was showing you earlier. So you can, if you have the machine screws and the rivet nut is messed up, or you gotta wedge one out of there, they do sell rivet nut guns and rivet nuts which are threaded to put in the boat, and we'll talk about those on a separate video. But here's a Wave with their new gudgeon, and I think that's about all we got to say about rivets right now. So y'all take care.